I am not this body. The topic today is how to deal with the loss
of a loved one.
Loss, not
loss.
death.
Yes, loss.
Yeah. Loss can be loss even if you are still living and the person hasn't died, if you lose someone, which today is very common in separations and divorces and split relationships, you know. So we'll cover both today. Hopefully we'll have the time to do both. How to deal with the death of a lost one through separation in relationship, and how to deal with the loss of a loved one through death. And both are, you know, the pain is intense in both cases. And pain is what human beings find so difficult to deal with. And I can totally understand that. Because when I lost my husband 2.5 years ago, after 34 years of marriage, the pain, I didn't even know that kind of pain existed. I didn't know that kind of pain existed. I thought, you know, with all the practices that I had done in yogic terms, I wasn't supposed to be feeling this pain. So, but I also learned with all my practices that it gave me the power to sit with the pain, live through it, and heal myself, because nobody could heal me, and find my way to happiness again. So then I learned, it's not that life isn't full of suffering. It is, no matter how much you practice, and how much you pray, and how much you love, it is, you know, suffering is part of it. But you learn to ride the waves, and that's what I learned, and you can ride them. And during your worst times, you can look upon it as if it's bittersweet. You can see your life as, oh my God, this is the learning that this body had to go through, that this mind, and you can disconnect. And that disconnection makes you very strong, makes you very neutral. So you look at yourself as if you're an object, and oh, the pain doesn't belong to you. The pain has come to you, but it's not yours. It's just like your children, right? You think they're your children. Are your children really yours? Yes, they belong to you for a little while in this life, but once they grow up, my goodness, please leave me alone, I want my independence. So your children aren't yours. You feel the fallacies, you feel they belong to you, you want to possess them, own them, people, we want to possess them, own them, but nothing really belongs to us. And us believing that things belong to us keep us trapped in pain. So when you lose someone, either through death or a relationship, the way to get out of the pain very quickly, if you have a deep understanding of who you are, that you're really spirit, that these experiences come and go, they're not permanent. Everything passes. This too shall pass. Everything passes, because you will pass. And then you lose the connection with the pain, and that's what can happen. Then you're allowed to breathe, and then you can suddenly, oh, I'm in this black place, but guess what? I can still enjoy the blue sky. I can still smile. And then you don't feel guilty about being happy. That's another thing I noticed. That many people, after losing the loved ones, feel guilty that when they actually have a good day. They feel guilty. I know a young lady who lost her child. Miserable for 2 years, and she had a good day, and thought, how can I have a good day when my child has died? I said, do you think that's what your child wants for you? No, my child died, and I shouldn't be enjoying myself. Do you see, that is, what does it achieve? What does it accomplish? So how does one go through, and yet in her place, I know how much pain she's going through. She's really in her own mind suffering because of that belief that that child is mine. It's not that that child came to this earth to learn a certain lesson for this time, and that was it. Its time was up. Now learn the lesson, or you make the child's life wasted. The child came for a reason. Don't waste that child's life by being in misery for the rest of your life. Because one life is gone, and now if you're not unhappy, if you're unhappy, then your other child will be unhappy, then your husband will be unhappy, then your family will be unhappy. And how many more lives are you going to lose when death is inevitable? So that's the first thing we have to know, who we are in any kind of situation. And yesterday we covered it intensely in the satsang in Spain. Who are we? You know, why do we worry so much? We were talking about the Gita. Thank you. You read my mind. Thank you. I really love that. Yesterday we were doing the Gita, and Arjuna is a great warrior, had to go into battle. A battle that he didn't want. He never asked for the battle. And who was his battle with? His own family, his grandfather. One day we must do the Gita again here. We've done it before, but it was such a phenomenal text. It's so incredible. His battle was with his grandfather. His grandfather happened to be on the wrong side. Why? Because the wrong side is the one who fed the grandfather all their lives. So the grandfather, even though knowing it's the wrong side, had an obligation to the people who fed him, right? You see, in life, many times this happens when you go through a difficult situation, right? And you know somebody is wrong. And everybody knows around you that that person is wrong, right? But still, they'll take their side and say, well, because, you know, they did this for me and they did that for me. And it's true, they did. But you shouldn't be emotionally involved that they've taken the side of the other person. It's normal. Mm-hmm. So our life is full of these battles. And many times we fear these battles because if I go into battle, what if I cause this one pain? What if I cause this one pain? And I don't want to do that because I really don't want to cause any pain. And then Lord Krishna tells Arjuna, don't be a coward. You're not going to cause anybody pain. What is born has to die. Look at who you are. You were born a great warrior. You were born a great warrior. Did you ask to be a great warrior? You were born a great warrior. What's a great warrior's duty? A great warrior's duty is to protect, right? If somebody's coming in to kill the people in your country and to do wrong, the great warrior is there to protect those who are going to be attacked, right? Now you say, I don't want to fight. And that's cowardly. Yes, I know, but that's emotional. That's personal stuff. You know, that's emotional stuff. Know who you are. Know why this battle has been given to you. Why has this battle been given to you? Because you have a duty to fix it. You have a duty. And by not fulfilling your duty, you will incur sin, he tells them. But how can fighting be wrong? Right? Arjuna goes, how can it be right? And he goes, it's not about right or wrong. It's about this has come to you. Because of your karmas or whatever, this battle has come to you. How many battles come to us in our lifetime that we don't want to fight? And sometimes you have to. You don't and keep quiet, then the same situation goes on and on and on. And many times I get very angry with people when they separate. They'll tell me, well, they had this problem for 20 years. Why did you allow it for 20 years? When it first happened, why did you not address it? Oh, I was too scared. Because the other person gets angry. And now 20 years of suffering because somebody else gets angry. You had stopped it at the bud. And if the person didn't agree at that time, you would have saved yourself 20 years of hell. And if you're in hell, can you find God? You cannot find God. You cannot find peace. You cannot find anything. I don't blame anybody. I just think it's your fault for not... I mean, if you have to say anything, you weren't brave enough. But why weren't you brave enough? Because in this life, you have to learn to be brave. So maybe everything is perfect. The plan is perfect. So finally, because you haven't achieved being brave after 20 years, the earths are moving you into such a horrible situation so that you have to learn to be brave now. Better late than never. Don't you know how much the gods love you? They want you to get well. They want you to be happy. They want you to be joyful because that is our birthright. Not to be miserable. I don't know one spiritual person that I really admire miserable. I don't. Have you met a really evolved soul? Swami Satchidananda. always laughing, always telling jokes, always happy. His disciples may be very serious. It's a different matter. But Swami Satchidananda was like Dadavaswani, another great soul that I met. Always shining, always laughing, always smiling. Mother Teresa, same. More interested in everything, not bothered about anything else but her people, her people. She saw Jesus in her. She was glowing. She was happy. And I met her in Hong Kong. She didn't have a miserable face. She was smiling, and I gave her a huge hug. And I felt her magic. So everybody I know I've admired in my life has been happy. So we have and all these people tell us we have a right to be happy. So then how can you be happy when so many battles come to your life? So much fear enters through death, through separation. How can you be happy? By knowing who you really are. And that's what Lord Krishna tells Arjuna. Go into this battle, not with fear, but go with the highest motive. Did you want this war? No. Did you choose it? No. Did you try to make peace? Yes. For how long have you tried to make peace? 14 years. How many times did they try to murder you and your family and even burn the house you lived in? How many times did they send people to kill you and you escaped each time? Do you have a right now? You have the right now to fight for that which is right. If you do not fight after making all the amends, after so many years, giving in and giving in, you do not fight now, then who is going to fight for the right values in life? Who is going to? If we don't fight for the right values, if we allow people to hurt us and punish us and cause us pain, what are we teaching them? What example are we giving our children? How many children from battered families have come to me saying, why didn't my mother fight back? Do you know how many people have told me? And instead of loving the mother for where she thinks she stayed in that relationship, to protect her children, she actually destroyed them. They actually come and tell me, I hate my mom. And I said, poor mom, all she did is protect you. No, she should have left. We were too young to leave. We were too young to tell her to leave. We didn't know. When we watched her get beaten up and her hair pulled and this happened and that happened, she doesn't have the courage to leave. How can we tell her? She's our mom. And then when they grow up, they're so angry. And then they have dysfunctional relationships. Always nip the problem at the bud. And why don't we? Fear. Fear. What are you? It's only another human being. My husband used to tell my children when they were young, when they boarding school, they were scared of the teachers. And he said, you know what? Anytime, you shouldn't be scared of anybody. He used to tell them. Nobody to fear. Whenever you get scared of somebody who's like your headmaster, just imagine him on a toilet seat. It really worked because my daughter had a horrible house mistress, but she managed to get past that horrible house mistress, which gave her, in her life today, the strength that she needs to deal with her special needs, because she has developed the inner strength herself. Through these situations, you develop an inner strength. If you every time scream when a situation goes wrong and you don't handle it for yourself, you have to go through the pain. I know people say, oh, nowadays you say, oh, Nellie, it's not true. You say no pain, no gain, because that's what Gurudev said. And really, it's quite true. I've seen that in my life, you know. No pain, no gain. What can we do? We don't seem to learn with gain. We seem to learn with pain. Why? I don't know. Human nature. We seem to love to pull ourselves down. And so the first thing you need to know when you deal with any situation, make yourself strong. Make yourself strong. Because you see, these emotions, fear, guilt, worry, what will people say, society, all these fears. Am I doing wrong? Am I doing right? This is all goodness. This is all in the earth. This is all earth values. First of all, no, the earth is like a university. You'll pass some tests and you'll fail some tests. Ultimately, if you keep going long enough, you'll pass it. You'll get out of university. Some people fail for many years. One day, they'll get through it. And like that, we will get through it. But they're tests. And this is our life. So we look at our worldly life, but we got so attached to all the emotions, all the fears, all the guilt. Oh, and I read the Gita in chapter 12, it says, "Know fear, guilt, and worry to be your enemies." They're your enemies. They stop you to have a balanced mind. But before you can have that balanced mind, what do you have to know? Make it very clear. Make it very clear. Make it very clear. Who am I really? And Krishna tells Arjuna, you are soul. You are the self. The self never dies. Energy doesn't die. All that happens is you change clothes, and just as an old person just as you throw an old coat away, so when your body is old, you will cast away your body and put on a new one. Why do you worry so much about who's going to die? The wise do not grieve for the living or the dead, he says. Why would the wise not grieve? Now he's talking on two different levels. And I can explain this because I went through it. On the physical human level, I grieved. But when I got in touch with myself, I watched the grieving. Right? Same person in one body. But I was able to watch the grieving and not attach it to me so that it would destroy me. You go through a period, which I call the dark period, where internally, you don't know what's happening. You're at a block, what I call a dark cloud. I love that word because it describes it. And you can't move forward, and you can't move back, and you can't move sideways, and you can't move leftways. You're just there with this dark cloud. And all I can advise you in this painful time of loss is sit with it. And like a fog, it will lift. And like a fog, it always lifts, always lifts. And that's all you have to do, is sit with it. Don't make it yours. Ooh, got it? You don't do that. Poor me, I go, you know. I've lost somebody I loved. I'm never going to see that face again. It's horrible enough. But it was never mine. It was never mine in the first place. And then you start repeating all these things that you've heard throughout the years. It's better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all. Wow, I'm lucky. I knew love. You know, I'm blessed. And it's a beautiful thing. I still have life. I'm not dead. What is my duty now? What is my duty from all the learning that I have? That while the self is inhabiting this body, my duty is to be as happy as possible and to spread as much peace as possible. So then you're two levels of in one time. And that's who you have to know. I am really eternal. And Lord Krishna tells Arjuna, you're eternal. You never die. It's just that you've forgotten. And I remember. So now go into this battle knowing who you are. You're not fighting because you want to hurt anyone. You don't. You just have to do that which you have to do that has been given to you at this time. It's just the way it is. And so, of course, yesterday we were talking about that. And then we turned to, you don't know her, she's a lovely lady. She found her daughter drowned in a pool in Marbella about 5 years back. And if you see her now with this knowledge from being a depressed woman, she goes to helps all the old ladies, and just now one of my old ladies died, and I helped her to die. Do you know what she has done with that learning of death to help others is incredible. She's 66, but she looks so young. She's got this lovely bob, dresses beautifully, and you say, oh my God, you know. And she lost her daughter, and she said yesterday, she said to me, you know, Nalanie, I went to my doctor who hadn't seen me for 3 years, and he said to her, oh my God, you've lost 20 years. She said, because I found joy in my spirit. I found my peace. I found my God. And I found it in here. She said, yes, the loss of my daughter will always be so hard. But I have my granddaughters, and I love them. She'll be her necklace. She showed it to you too. Oh, that's it fell on the floor. So she goes, oh, my grandchildren. You know, the joy. And I got, she's learned it. She's learned the self. She's learned who she really is, so she can enjoy whatever life that is given to her. There's a transformation when you know the truth. So anyway, she had the newsletter that Patty had done, and apparently Les wrote this in Sevilla to us, and she loved it. And she got the newsletter, she goes, oh my God, Les wrote this. I really, really, really want him to read it to us because it's beautiful. I want to share it to the class. This was written in Sevilla 2 years ago. And so we asked Les yesterday, because he was there. He never goes to Tuesday for a long time. And I said to Turkey, you must have called. And he said, can I come with you today? Sure. And with Shanti and me. And I said, oh, you know why you've come today? Because she was so excited that she read this article that she had to see you. She said, Les, I'm thinking of you. And she brought the page and everything. So, and it was so relevant with the subject yesterday. And it's so relevant to the subject today, because this is what we need to know first, and then we can go into the practical issues on how to deal with the loss of a loved one. But first you have to know the highest order of things. What is the highest order of things? Who are you? You are soul. Soul does not die. Know that deep in your heart, through your practices, through your yoga, through whatever practice, walking, swimming, running. Today I don't really care. But while you are doing all those things, cooking, playing with the computer, it's all divine, it's all energy, and it's all temporary. But guess what's not temporary? All this is temporary, but my soul is eternal. So guess what? It's adventure after adventure after adventure. So we asked him to read this article yesterday because we thought, as he wrote it, let him write it. Let him read it. So I'll ask him to do it the same again today. It was very popular yesterday, and everybody asked for a copy. So if you want a copy, don't ask me, ask him. I don't have it on my computer.
Can we to go and film you today, Les?
Do you mind?
Go, say you do, go.
I really don't want to be here. I'll just give some background to it. The Seville retreat, for those of you who weren't there, we were asked, it was a semi-silent retreat, and we were asked to go inside, and there was a lot of introspection, and then we had to come up with a piece to perform at the end. So some people came up with plays, others with poems. And I came up with this, but don't ask me where it came from because I have no idea. I feel I did not write this. It just came to me, so I'll read it. The reason I printed it out is I can get copies made, and I had trouble reading the one yesterday because the font that Patty used, is she here, Patty?
No, she's not here today.
The font that she used got smaller and smaller and smaller, getting harder and harder to read it. I think she wanted to squash it onto one page. So yeah, I'll just go through it. It's called I'm Not This Body. As I pass into another body, I flow like a golden breeze, swift and silent, aglow in the beam of the never-dimming light of lights. I cannot be seen by the human eye, nor heard by any terrestrial ear. So I pass into the physical form and acquire the senses I must possess to experience the world around me. This is not the first time I've flowed into human form, for I have done so on many occasions before, and shall do so again many times in the future. But is it the future that is my journey? Is it the past that has been my journey to this point where I am flowing once more? Does time keep the logical sequence in the ethereal that we assume it does in human terms when we're in the guise of a living, breathing being which is limited to 5 senses? In celestial form, I can tread the path of time back and forth. It does not matter which way I walk, for my journey is not merely to move along the passages of time. My journey has a higher and a deeper purpose. As I flow from one body to another, my passage should take me upwards, not along. I say should because once I attain a human body, in my physical form, I am bound to forget why I have attained it. If I knew, then the journey would lose its purpose. In forgetting, I am presented with a choice: to continue upwards, to stay at the same level, or to fall. In descending, there is no limit. I can fall for an eternity. I can also choose to remain at the same level for all time. Only in rising is there a limit, but it is set very high. The peak is realization, a goal of eternal peace and joy. How high it is above me depends upon my starting point. How low did I fall? And so I enter this new physical body. I know it because in my ethereal state I selected it, but I cannot tell its future path. I blend with it, for I am spirit, and I dissolve into its human form, its terrestrial characteristics. I must begin this fresh state of being as a baby. Life and its experiences flood into my head, and I must relearn the words that echoed so clearly in my spiritual mind. You are on this world, but you are not of this world. I sit still inside. I rest quietly inside the body while the physical senses struggle and strain to take in this new world. The physical begins to think as it experiences. It learns, absorbs, and seems to become full. But I still sit quietly within, waiting for the thoughts to turn their attention to me, and when they do, I awaken. And the journey takes on once more its original meaning and is renewed. We must work, for once the thoughts inside this human mind turn to me, action replaces inaction. Inaction retains the status quo, and the journey stagnates. It goes nowhere. We go nowhere. But action begins and choices are made. The energy created produces momentum, and this time, again, I choose to move upwards. I am the soul. I must continuously move, and in moving create continuity. And when I shed this body and return to the freedom of the celestial, I may wait before I flow into another human form. I may choose to remain free for a while and enjoy whatever I bring from this current physical state. Or I may opt to return to the shackles of the human form. However, the choice is not always mine, for it depends upon how I live on Earth. Next time, I may choose a different planet.
So very clearly, you can see the two in one, right? The spirit and the human form. And in this human form, we can stagnate, or we can go higher, or we can fall. And what I loved most about this, if we don't act, nothing happens. We stagnate. And that's the same battle of the Gita. You have to act, even though it's frightening, even though you're in terrible pain, even though you're scared. To do something is better than to do nothing at all, because then you stagnate. And you know when water stagnates, what happens?
Stinks.
It stinks. What starts to happen? Mosquitoes start to form. And then you can get diseases. And so the human body, when our minds stagnate, when we don't move forward, when we're frightened and we face the same situation year after year after year, the same guilt, the same fears, and we don't move on from those feelings, the water in us will stagnate and it will get disease. So it is important to move. And why are you moving? To make new, to make better, to open your world to the highest place. You are not moving forward. Your reason, your intention is not to hurt, is not to cause pain. If you are really truly well-intentioned, then what does it matter what the world says of you? If your intention is pure and kind and good for the benefit of all, including yourself, then what do you fear? Why are you fearing? What do you fear? Pain comes to all of us. So many times in broken relationships that I see really on virtually a weekly basis, well, this time it's good, weekly. It's not like every day like it was last year. About 2 years ago, it was like every day I, would hear somebody suffering so much, and the sobs and the cries from beings. Oh, I can't believe he left me. I can't believe she left me. I can't believe this is happening. It's almost like all this is happening to wake us up. And the clinging, and then the nastiness, and then the anger, and the frustrations. And I always like to break it down simply. Somebody once told Gurudev, I love my master because he puts such simple language, it just makes you wake up. When somebody told my master a long time ago, he says, crying and sobbing, and she said to him, oh, my husband, he said to Gurudev, oh, my wife left me, and I don't know what to do, sobbing and crying. And Gurudev looks at him and says, why would you want to be with someone who doesn't love you? You deserve the best. So what happens when there's a loss? The ego takes a big jolt first time. The ego. And then the ego will hold on to first blame, your fault. And when the pain gets too big, then it'll take on guilt. Maybe if I had done it this way, this would have happened. And maybe if I did it this way. And I see people writing for days, all the things they could change. And I have to look at them and say, straight to their face, you can't change any of it. It's over. The other person doesn't want to know. You can talk and talk and talk and say, but. You should have said but 20 years ago. Now you say, but this, if I had done it this way, if, can you go back in time? You can't. Why are you torturing yourself? All of that common link. They stay up all night writing all these things or thinking all these things so they don't sleep. So they can't get to work in the morning, so they can't function. Why? Just because somebody left them? Had they forgotten who they are? And I tell them, you are spirit, you can do so much. Look at your personality. Have you lost you? You lost your partner, but have you lost you? You are still here. You still have children, or you still have family. You still have life. You still have breath. You are not lost. Yes, you have lost someone, but you are not lost. You still have you. Okay, I understand. It's really painful and it's really scary to be on your own and it's really hard. I really understand. But guess what? You can't do it. You can do it. And how do I know? Because I did it. I'm sitting here. You can do it. And I'm just like all of you, ordinary woman who had a family and who still has a family and grandchildren. And you can do it. But how did I do it? Because the self in me, like the self in all of you, the spirit or the God or whatever you want to call it, names are so irrelevant, but there's an energy, that strength. And when we tap on to that strength sees us through our most difficult times. And not only that, when we do it without complaining, with gratitude that we have the strength to do it, that self will give us all the gifts. Like everything will be handed to us that we want. We just have to ask and it'll come. That's all. I have seen the magic of what we call tapas. We call it burning, because when you suffer, you burn. But if you just sit with it and accept it and let it pass, and remember who you are, nothing is ours anyway, is it? You cannot even leave, I keep saying over and over again, this earth and take one piece of hair with you. Not even a nail, nothing, nothing, nothing. You leave everything behind, including this body. So why are we clinging? Either to death of a lost one. And don't you want to set them free? And if your partner doesn't want you, are you going to waste the rest of your life chasing it and you'll never come back? You know, I hear stories of people who've separated or divorced for 22, 23, 24 years. Already remarried, already with new children, still angry about the first marriage. What's the point? They've wasted 22 years of what could be a beautiful life with a new person, with a new family. Happily, the damage is done. Why bringing it into this life? We need to learn to know how to close chapters in the book. You finish with chapter 1. Let's begin with chapter 2. Give me the tranquility to accept the things I cannot change. Chapter 1 is over. It's over. It's over. No matter how much you cry, you cannot bring it back. So what do you have to look at? You can question 1,000,000 times. Is it going to change the situation? No. How many people who are widowed come to me and go, but if only I could see the person one more time. You're not going to see the person. Get real. I'm so sorry to tell you. The sooner you accept it, the sooner you can find your peace. But they're not dead. That's the other thing. That soul that left is not dead. It just moved on. It just moved on. Maybe to a better place, a happier place. Why don't you want somebody who you loved to be happy? Do you think, I remember many years ago, when I first experienced this understanding death and understanding loss, was when Gurudev first came to Spain, and we went to a house in Marbella, where there were clients of mine who invited him to stay there because they had a beautiful villa, and I only had a small 3-bedroom here, so I said, and 1 bathroom. So they very kindly said they had a huge villa that he could stay there, and I stayed with him. And while he was talking, there was a lady in the group, and she just burst out crying. She just burst out crying, and Gurudev said, darling, what's wrong? He's the most compassionate face, and she goes, I had a son that was 18 years old, and he was in Turkey, and the last we heard, he was on a boat. And for 2 years, we've sent detectives out, and we've sent everything out. And, the Turkish government thinks that he had some drugs that night and he drowned. Or there's been some foul play. They don't believe he's alive. And so she goes, but I need proof, I need this, I need that. I was just sobbing and sobbing and sobbing. And Gurudev just sat there, closed his eyes, and said, he's extremely happy, but he cannot move on into the light because you are miserable. You have enough proof to know, there are marks there to know that he's dead, but you don't want to let him go. He loves you. You were his mother in this life, but he has to continue. And until you settle, he will not be able to go to the light. And when I heard that, it was the first time I heard it said like that, I was maybe 35 years old at that time. But the way he said it just made so much sense. And I remember I gave one of my first talks on death at the Hindu temple when I used to teach there. And somebody said to me, something that I never forgot. She said, after hearing me talk about death, she said, Nalanie, now when somebody dies in my life, I am just going to think that they've taken a holiday to Australia. I loved it. I just thought, what a nice way to look at it. And I'm never going to travel to Australia because I don't like traveling. So I would never see the person in this life anyway. And I thought, it's such a real way to look, because it's the real way to look at it. And I remember when my husband passed, it's the first thing that it's funny, so many years ago, and she made me laugh so much with that. My husband's gone on holiday. So I'm going on holiday too, here. This is my place for the holiday, So I'm going to have a holiday. And I'm going to enjoy my holiday because I want him to enjoy his holiday. I don't want him to worry about me and stay stuck because, oh, how's she going to manage? No, he's going to say, I knew you were independent, because that's what his last words to me. I know you are strong. I said, yeah, I am. I'm strong. He said, that's the only thing I'm worried about is leaving you. I said, I am strong. Go in peace. Go in peace. I am strong. And it's the best thing you can give people, because the soul then can move on to its journey. It was never mine. Nothing is ours. So people come and go in our lives because they add magic and love to our lives. And we must never stop the magic, and we must never stop the love. But we stop the magic and we stop the love because of fear, guilt, and worry. We stop that flow of love. And when we stop that flow of love, something dies within us. And that something poisons our body, poisons every single cell of our body. Because when you are not in that dynamic, pure love, then you're not whole. You're not whole. You cannot be whole. There's an emptiness. So the gods are very kind. They send people to nurture us, to love us, to bring us back to our whole, to fix us, because the gods are kind. And when you know that, you attract as you think, it becomes. So if you know that the gods are kind, and you know that the best of human beings are good, and you know that, then that's what you will attract into your life. But if you send fear out, and fear of, what will happen if I do this, and what will happen if I do this, and what will happen will happen. Not all your actions may be correct, but better to do some action than none at all, and then to destroy the life force that is in you. That life force, that self, does not belong to us. It's a gift that all of us are living in. It's the space is one. We are many, but the space is one. We are occupying the space. The space is not occupying us. The space is always there. And we are like that space. And when we break down our egotistic views, and when we break down all what society tells us we have to think or feel, and we follow the grace, and the grace that will take us out of all suffering is the grace to know that love takes us to our highest level. Pain is a journey to make us understand that. Pain is just a journey. It's not permanent. Neither is this pleasure, also not permanent. I remember in this life alone how many lessons we learned. I used to love dancing. I was a dance teacher, had a group called Eastern Promise, some of you may remember. Oh, Anna used to be one of my students. Do you remember the beach song?
I was mentioning it today, funny enough.
Yes.
After all the costumes that we've had.
You don't.
I've
given it all away.
I'm going to bring them out for my kids. After Lizette gave me those today, I'm going to dig them all out.
Yeah, which one did you do? Do you want me baby?
I said, don't you want me baby? Then my sister was in it as well, so I've got double the amount of costumes. She did like the Charleston one.
That's right.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And also punk one. Wasn't it punk?
Yeah, Beat It.
Beat It.
Yeah, Michael Jackson. So anyway, we had a dance school, and my life was dance, right? And then suddenly, one day I wake up in the morning, and my knees are this big. I can't walk. And then I go to the orthopedic surgeon, and he goes, oh my God, you need a knee replacement. In those days, knee replacement was very dangerous operations, and it weren't very successful. Not like today, it's much more successful. Still dangerous, So he said, you operate, but then you're so allergic to this drug, and you're asthmatic, and you're so allergic to this. I don't suggest you operate. So I said, what do I do, doctor? You stop dance. You absolutely have to. I said, I can't go into a class and teach dance without demonstrating, because I used to demonstrate everything. I said, that's like killing my life force. It's killing my energy. If I just sit there and say, you do this and you do that, I can't. I just have to stop. And I had no choice. That it just broke. Life decided. But look how lucky. Life decided for that to happen so I could come into yoga. I didn't have a choice. Isn't it incredible how pain brought me into something so beautiful and so pleasurable? And I'm so grateful because anyway, it was in my dharma or my karma to have problems with my feet. You know, because then the next thing that happened is I fractured it not once, twice the same foot. How do you do that? So I laugh. It already shows that that part of my life is done. So don't regret. Don't think, oh, I'd love to dance again. Oh, I can dance a little while, but afterwards it's a lot of pain. So the other night we went to a wedding and I go, 4 dances better enough. Tomorrow I don't want to suffer. You learn to be smart. You learn to be smart. And you go, oh, wow. It's just the body. It's just the body. It's just the body. It's just the body. Poor foot. It's just the body. Don't get so attached. Oh, I love dancing. Big deal. I still love dancing. I still love music. I can dance sitting down. Do you know? You can always dance, and even if you can't dance sitting down when you're really sick, so the next step was pneumonia, you can dance in your head. You can do so much. We're so lucky to have this equipment. We keep forgetting how blessed we are. We keep forgetting how lucky we are. Why? Because everybody around us feels so sorry for us. And compassion is what we need. Compassion is what we need. We don't need pity, we need compassion, we need friendship, we need power, we need life force. When you're going through suffering of losing a loved one, either through separation or death, what you need is life force. And that comes with a lot of love, a lot of caring, a lot of nurturing, knowing that you are loved. And that's I got from all of you. I think I must have been the luckiest woman in the world to be a widow at that time, because I had so much love from all of you. It was enough to fill my body with healing. So go to a place where you are nurtured and loved, because that is the life force. That is the life force that keeps you alive, that keeps you well, that keeps you healed. And this is why they say Sangha is really important, because life force, if your life force is low, you're feeling depressed, you don't want pity. You want to be in the life force of joy. Okay, maybe not that they're laughing that you are suffering, that's the other extreme. But you want to be with somebody who is strongly, joyfully compassionate with you and helps to bring you to your highest place of understanding. Oh, this is really frightening. Don't belittle it. It is really scary stuff. It is really scary when you used to living a certain way for so many years and suddenly overnight everything has changed. Everything has changed. And Anna was telling us that today at lunchtime. Everything was fine, and then suddenly her father had a heart attack. Suddenly, you know. And yes, Tuesday somebody was telling me, one of the workers who was working in my home said, nephew was sitting down eating, and suddenly slipped down the table, died, 37 years. Just something like that. So you just don't know. Life changes like this for all of us at any time. So prepare yourself now by being strong, by knowing who you are. That's the only way to deal with it. There's no other way. As Les's article that he read to us say, know that you're the ethereal, know that you're a celestial being inhabiting a human existence with the 5 senses. Know that. The senses are given to you to take part in this play called Earth or life. And if you can disconnect by watching it instead of getting so involved in it, you can live it so beautifully, because you can feel the pain of others. You can feel their compassion. By disconnecting, it doesn't mean you don't feel any of these things. All it means is you feel even more, because their pain becomes yours. But the difference is, you know it's not forever, because you know you're the self. So because you know it's only temporary, you can transmit that knowledge just by sight or touch. Because when you really, really know something, people know that you really, really know, and you can transmit that energy. So this is how you make yourself strong. That's the only way to deal with it. Otherwise you get too attached. And then the other thing is, what happens to the mind when you separate or you lose a lost one is a lot of, I should have done. A lot of going back into the past, which I mentioned earlier. A lot of looking back. And you have to train yourself to live in the present. Maybe there's some things that in your past that you really wish you hadn't done. Maybe there are some stuff. There's some stuff. Many people have come to me and said, oh, I wish I wasn't so horrible. I wish I hadn't done this. Now it's too late. I can't change it. So what I tell these people to do, which really helps them to deal with the loss of the loved one, because now they're not here anymore to say, I'm sorry I did this. But they really feel sorry. They really feel bad. They really wish they could say, I'm sorry. And I tell them, look, they can hear you. We can't hear them, but they can hear us. Do a little prayer, make a little altar, offer some flowers to them in their name, feed the poor in their name, and tell them you're really sorry. And in their name, you are feeding the poor and for them. And that's the way your penance, your apology is through doing something beautiful in their name. And then many people who have done this come back to me and say, oh my God, I really feel as if this tension has been lifted from me. I know Shanti went through 4 miscarriages and she gave each of the children a name. And for her to overcome this attachment with the fetuses that had left her body, we did a prayer ceremony to each of those children. And now she's done so much to work on herself, to release. And always when you want to have a child, you can't, there's always a lot of self-blame. There's something wrong with me, there's something wrong I've done. It's nothing wrong. Is it her fault that she couldn't carry? Nothing wrong, but there's a deep-rooted guilt, not being good enough. And there's nothing wrong. Now she realized, she said, now I realize when I see people with kids, thank God I couldn't be traveling everywhere and going all these places. And then, I remember the first time she said she was at the children's party and one of the children vomited. She screamed, she didn't know what to do with it. So I said, you see now why you didn't have children? But you had to learn the lesson of letting go. Although it was really painful. And now she's like that, it doesn't cause her pain. I mean, up to 3 years ago when she used to see somebody she knew pregnant, she would feel some kind of like, if only I could fall pregnant. For the last 3 years, nothing, you've been strong. She goes, well, thank God. Look at me, I can do whatever I like, So she took the best of a painful situation. She also healed an old situation. She tried many methods to take away this guilt or this feeling of not being a woman enough or not feeling good enough, because we have all these psychological issues to deal with. So she dealt with that on a human level, and on a higher level, she understood it was all just a learning, just a way of being on this earth, on this lifetime. Obviously, she had some lessons to learn, and not to blame, not to cause any guilt, and be free from it, gave her a sense of purpose in life now. Now she knows her purpose, and her purpose definitely wasn't to bring up children, but to do something far greater. We laugh many times when she comes with me on retreats and whatnot. So many people I meet, and I can't attend to all of them. So she's really great. She talks to all of them. She attends to them. She gives them what they need. And I go, really great. And she goes, no, they're all my babies. I said, isn't it lovely? And you don't have the responsibility of cleaning nappies and keeping and cooking. Nice to babies like that. So, it's our attachment, thinking things that belong to us that causes us so much pain. But then we are human, and from that pain and from that attachment, we truly, 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 truly learn that really who we really all are. We are free. We're really free. When something that close breaks from your life or is separated from you, it feels like your soul is torn into half. It teaches you. There's two ways you can go, as Les said in this article. You can go down, and you can really go down deep. Or you can go high. You can go high. And then there's no end to that high. It's wonderful. So if we can look at the loss as a learning, as a lesson, and not as a punishment, and then when we can feel the pain, allow it without embarrassment. I remember, I think I told you all that when my husband passed, initially, I never knew when I was going to cry, so I called myself Mrs. Waterworks. I sit on a table suddenly with for no reason at all, and boom! And then when I should cry, when I'm speaking about it, I don't. I just didn't know. But all I knew is that if I had to, it would. And I go, forgive me. And it was, no, it's okay to cry. I knew it was okay to cry. And probably I cried because I knew at that point I was safe with the people I was with. I could cry safely around them. And that's probably why you cry, isn't it true? Mm-hmm. You cry with people you feel very safe with spiritually. There's a feeling, I feel safe with this person. I can cry now. Because the human body has to have some kind of effect because it belongs in the gunas, it belongs in the vibration, it belongs in the world. So even though the mind has transcended the problem, the mind may be very, it's just my body, but the body is in this earth, right? So the body is matter, matter to matter. So the body has to go through the process of pain, it has to go through the process of suffering, because that's the body, it belongs into this earth. And as Lord Krishna tells Arjuna, just as a child becomes a young adult, from a young adult to, a middle-aged person, from a middle-aged person to an old person, we all do this. So the soul just inhabits in one lifetime. In one lifetime, how many forms do we change? How many forms? Dimensions change. First our head's bigger, then everything changes. All the dimensions change in one lifetime. And then when you get older, again the dimensions change. But that's why you should do half that, relax straight, and learn to stretch out, and embrace the world and not fear the world, otherwise you'll end up like this. But embrace it with your arms and embrace pain and embrace suffering. Take it and say, okay, you think you can defeat me? No way. You can hurt me for a little while. But you know what? I am spirit. I never die. And the force of the spirit can do anything. And then you read stories that really make you, wow. How many stories have we read and seen in life? There's stories about a woman who's in a car accident and suddenly she sees the child under the wheel and she has all the strength because she's just focused on the child, she can lift the car. Have you seen stories and heard of them? There are many. I have heard of so many stories, I can't remember them now. So many stories from people about things that they have done that they thought was impossible for them to do. It's kind of like what Les said earlier on. I don't know where this came from. I don't know how it flowed through me. And many times in our life, we have that connection. We go, oh my God, I don't know how I said this, or how I knew this, or how I just dealt with the situation. My character normally cannot deal with this kind of situation. And yet the force came that I could. And then you realize that you're being carried. You are being carried. And that's when grace really hits you. That's when you really know you are never alone. And the whole world may condemn your decision. The whole world may think you are wrong. But if you are living in righteousness in your heart, then know you will be carried by grace. Never fear that. But if your intention is based Always remember, on jealousy, on greed, on what else?
Anger.
Anger. Yeah, what else?
Avarice.
Lust. You know, if your world is based on those things, know you are doomed in the end. Know that you're doomed. You may win for, many people tell me, oh, this person does this dishonestly, that. Why do they have such a good life? I go, when you look at the person, you don't know what goes on in their lives. You don't know. I remember somebody was saying to me about this person that they had so much, and I said, why do you want to compare? You got a better life. A few months later, that person who was rich, lost a child. And then the same person, oh, poor thing. I said, just a few months ago, you were jealous, and now you're saying, poor thing. See, you don't know. You don't know anything. Don't look at anybody else's life. Don't judge anybody else's life. You have enough with your own. There's enough stuff here to last you 10 lifetimes. Or more. Who knows? Why not conquer it in one? And how do you conquer it in one? How do you take the shortcut? By working on yourself and not focusing on everybody else. And this is why it's so vital. It's so vital to build up your life force and your power. And that power does not live if there is no love. So you can have pain and still have love. But many people, when they're in pain, they let go of love. Do you know that? They go into sorrow and anger mode when they're in pain. If you can be in pain and still love, that's the secret. That will help you through the pain, because you need the love. You need water to put out a fire, right? So you need love and compassion to put out the fire of pain. So long as you don't become bitter and angry, and so long as you look for the life force, remember that's the secret. What keeps me alive? What keeps me ticking? And we all have the same, from a little child to an old person, is that feeling of being nurtured and loved. How many times you walk into a room of in the old days when I used to visit, we belonged to a League of Hospital Friends, used to visit the hospital very regularly, and I used to love to go to the geriatric ward, because I just go and sit with a lady for like 2 or 3 minutes and talk to her, and she'd be like, I'm so happy, I'm so happy. And I thought, it takes so little to make people happy, doesn't it? It takes so little to make ourselves happy. So just like I sat there to bring the joy out in her, we can sit with the force of love to bring the joy out in us. When you're going through a difficult situation, it's hard to be alone. Hard to be alone, unless you know that you are never alone. And that was one of the secrets that I was very grateful for, because by the time I happened to be alone, I already have learned that I was never alone. My father told me for years and years and years, his words repeat itself, you are never alone, God is with you. You are never alone, God is with you. Years of hearing him say it, and years it's gone in. It's gone in. And it was so funny because the other day I had to go out, and Bev's gone back home now. She was staying with me for over 5 weeks, and I said, I'm sorry to leave you, I hope you're okay. And she turns around, she said, no, Nalanie, I'm never alone, God is with me. I said, yes, you got the lesson, you got the lesson. You're never alone. Good answer, good answer. We're never alone, whatever you call that God, the force, the life force. And that life force lives in our cells. It lives in physically, the atoms move with the life force. And our duty is to keep that going, and that's how you deal with losses. Many people, when there's a loss, they drain themselves of the life force, the very thing that they shouldn't do. And we know that, because when 2 people are angry with each other, shouting and more shouting and more shouting and more shouting brings the war, doesn't it? We know that very clearly. So the same with pain and life force, all right? So if you can learn the secret of being comfortable in the life force. So when you need it, you can call upon it. And the feelings of safety and compassion and love and kindness. This is why many times, like for example, Anna was telling us today, can I tell that story? When her father got sick, they were just all day long saying, I love you. And it was so easy, right? And they weren't used to doing it. Now they were doing it all the time. Now that he's better, she goes, they don't even say, I love you. What do you say?
You say, I am you. We say, I love you as well, with less difficulty.
With less difficulty. Yeah, you see? And if that person is sick, so, because that's the life force, and that's the healing force, and the soul knows it. So, before you get sick, and before you fall apart, nurture your life force. You can tell people how much you love them. You can tell them, I love you, and create that energy. So when you tell them, oh, they laughed today because we had a meeting, we all told that each to each other. It was quite cool, wasn't it? A nice meeting today. We had a committee meeting to decide on refurbishment, and it went into life force mode, And because I guess life force is what we needed to bring that meeting to a very nice fruition, wasn't it? It was a very good meeting today. But the life force builds it, Otherwise you're talking too technically on a business level. And the spirits didn't want that. They wanted us to go on a deeper level of the center rather than just decoration and this. They wanted us to go to something deeper within each of us, so we woke it up. See, that's how the life force works. And then once we build it up, we can work very quickly, very, very quick, wasn't it? Covered how many points today? And we so many times digressed, we still covered so many points because we're working with life force. And that's what life force does for you. And for me, that force is love and friendship and companionship and kindness and goodness. So don't, because you have one bad experience in your life, close that life force. Many people do. And then you can't grow. You mustn't close the doors. You must allow the doors to stay open. Many people become bitter or angry. Oh, I'll never do this again. I had a bad time this time, or I'm never going to do it again. And then they shut something out in themselves. Because the body is saying, I'll never do it again. But the soul is much greater than that. The soul is, as the Upanishads call it, the Lord of Love, that lives very, very deeply in our own hearts. And so this is how all of us need to deal with pain. Are there any questions? Anything you want to ask, or anything you want to share, anything you want to say?
Love you.
I love you too. And her name in Sanskrit is Prema, which means love. Great love. Great love. And isn't it funny you should be the one to say I love you? Because that's what your name is. So that is what you will give out in this life, a lot of love. And a lot of feeling of, and that's what you did when your father got sick. You brought everyone together. When your mom was not well, you brought everyone together. That's your job and you're fulfilling it. It's great. Doesn't matter how much yoga you do, but you are fulfilling what you were born to do. Yoga is living the life of love and joy and peace and transmitting it. And you can't, if you're constantly in the negative energy field, and you can't, if you're constantly be put down and broken apart, you have to fight for yourself. If you don't fight for you, who will? And by fight, I mean fight with love, fight with water. Because if you don't stick up for yourself, nobody will, my friend. You need to stick up for who you are in the purest level. Not because you want something from anyone, Not because you desire anything from anyone, but because that's who you are. You're the life force. And when your life force isn't working, when your love channels are not working, you do not work. So what is the point of being in this world when you are not working in the highest sense? It's just like walking through life like a robot. You come and you die. Goodbye, everyone. Nobody really cares. Nobody really cares. Maybe your family for a few years, when they die, you float into nothing. And then when will you get another human body again to better yourself and to know the joy, to know this is just a play that we are playing. Let's play it well. So if you have to overcome the loss of someone and you have to let them go, let them go. You deserve the best. Why are you clinging to something that causes you so much pain? And in God's name, did God ask you to suffer? I don't know why God gives me so much suffering. God gives us love, love, love. God is this powerful energy. And you, like I explained to them yesterday, when you see the Mahabharata war, the Bhagavad Gita, both sides pray. The bad guys also pray. The good guys also pray. They both pray. Haven't you seen that in life? People who bomb buildings and kills hundreds of people, they pray. They say they're doing it for God. Did God ask them to do it for them? Why are they doing it? For their egos, for their false beliefs. If you look at all the scriptures, how do you know what is truth? Because if you look at every single scripture, we have something similar. Non-violence. We are all brothers and sisters. We are all one. But then man's egos come into play and separate and separate and separate till we think one is better than the other. But the good will always win. And in history we've seen it. I was saying this last night over and over and over again. Ultimately, those who practice the good values will always win. Look at history. It's proven itself. Time after time after time. Good has always prevailed, hasn't it? It may look like it's not, like the Second World War when Hitler took over one country and another country and another country, until all the countries got together and said, look, we can't allow, you see, that war, they had to go into war. Did they want to go war? They delayed it so long, they allowed 6 million people to die. And what Hitler was doing was so wrong. Everybody knew it was wrong. Genocide was wrong. To kill a race because it was a race was wrong. But it took a long time for the courage to raise. The wars these days are different. They're all based on greed, oil, and whatever. The wars that, excuse me, that I'm talking about are wars of honor that bring back the highest values. Talking too much. Throat chakra doesn't like it. So you see, even though my mind wants to, the throat body doesn't let. What can you do? Accept. So now I must stop talking.